You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham. This is Dave Burke. The Cincinnati Bengals, big win over the Atlanta Falcons, 35-17. And Dave, you saw all the action, a lot of action, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I want to start with defense because other than a little hiccup there late in the first half, this Bengals defense really shut the door in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, you pitch a shutout in the second half in the National Football League. I don't care who the opponent is, you're getting it done. And so obviously without giving up a point and giving up very few yards, I mean, the defense's record of not allowing a touchdown in the second half is intact after 7 weeks in the National Football League. That is not an easy thing to do, to keep people out of the end zone for an entire half in 7 straight football games when a lot of these games, come down to the very last possession. It's incredible the way the defense has performed in the second half all year long.
Lou Anarumo's defense, 214 total yards given up. I mean, you said 107. I mean, we talked about it when you did your keys. You said about the Falcons being, more of that run over the pass. But this time in this game, they were equal. 107 passing, 107 rushing. And, a lot of players had to step up in this game with the injuries. Talk about those guys who stepped up and filled roles.
Yeah, but what I was referencing is they run the ball and play selection much more than pass the football. I wasn't referencing yards. I'm saying there's only 3 teams in the National Football League that run the ball more attempts than pass attempts, and the Atlanta Falcons are one of them. And today, in a game that they were down 2 scores right away, down 21-0 at one point, and down 2 scores the entire football game, they ran it 29 times and only threw it 13. I mean, their ratio of run to pass was 2.5 greater than throwing the football, which is I couldn't believe it. They never abandoned that mentality of we're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball no matter what. And the Bengals did a good job of shutting that running game down. Mariota ends up 8 for 13 for 124 yards, but 75 of them came in that one touchdown pass. So the other 7 completions, he goes for less than he goes for 49 yards on the other 7 completions, 7 yards per completion. So the Bengals did a great job. They handled the running game. The Falcons, one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, they were rushing for 161 yards, 165 yards a game coming in. They got 107 on 29 carries, 3.7 per. I thought that was the story of the football game and the way the Bengals just handled that running game. The longest run they allowed of the day was 11 yards. So I thought that they just they handled the line of scrimmage, very, very well. And today, first down was the down. Joe Burrow came into today's game leading the National Football League on third down quarterback rating, passer rating. And in this football game, first down was where all the action was. I mean, all the touchdown passes occurred on first down. Joe Burrow had a 60-yard touchdown pass on first down. He had a touchdown pass of over 40 yards on first down. I mean, it was incredible. They had a 60-yarder, a 41-yarder, a 33-yard touchdown, all on first down. They had another 3 plays of 20 yards or more on first down. They destroyed them on first down, extremely aggressive. They didn't wait till third down. They were like, we're going to get after it, and we're going to be extremely aggressive, and we're going to spread the field. And they went empty backfield, spread it, and the Atlanta Falcons are struggling in the secondary with injury and performance. Obviously, they were struggling statistically coming into this football game. The Bengals felt like they had mismatches everywhere, and they took full advantage. And you got 3 receivers, Dave, that almost had 100 yards receiving. Chase has 8 catches for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd has 8 catches, a career-high 155 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins, 5 catches for 93 yards. I mean, Joe Burrow distributes the ball again like a point guard to all these guys. And there's 481 yards, and he almost had 3 guys with 100 yards receiving each. I mean, it was a thing of beauty to watch him attack this Atlanta Falcon defense.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, 34 of 42, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus adding a rushing touchdown. The running game, I mean, you can sit there and you can say, hey, Joe Mixon, 17 carries, 58 yards. Not a great average, 3.4, but he had a touchdown. And you sit there and you look at this offense. Today, that passing game was just what the Bengals needed. It just opened up early and often.
I thought the most unbelievable drive of the game, the last one, they start at their 2-yard line. They keep the ball all the way to the other 2-yard line and sit on it to end the game. I mean, they basically said, yeah, we're just going to, keep control of this football, and we're going to move the chains, and you're not going to be able to stop us. And, we're not going to kick a field goal. We're not going to necessarily score a touchdown on you to embarrass you. But if you can stop us, so be it. They didn't have to. Bengals took a knee after the penalty. How about the play they did with Hayden Hurst where they motioned him? He went under center and did a hard count, just like the Kansas City Chiefs do with Kelsey. They've done that with Kelsey, and they draw people offside. And Hayden Hurst did a great job of it and draws the Atlanta Falcons offside, and the Bengals get a first and goal, inside the 5-yard line. They just take a knee and end the game. So, I mean, you go the length of the football field, literally. You go 90-plus yards, and Atlanta can do nothing about it. That's big-time stuff. And, you have over 500 yards offense. And, they said after the game last week against New Orleans Saints, they felt like they'd found their identity offensively. And based on today's performance, I think they got something cooking. I mean, 66 plays, 537 yards, 8.1 yards per play, almost a first down per play. Pretty impressive. And, they did a lot of things really well. The only red zone possession they didn't score on is when they took a knee to end the game. So they scored in the red zone 3 of 3 last week, 2 of 3 this week. That's pretty good stuff as well. And they had the ball for over 33 minutes of the football game to less than 27 minutes of the football game for the Falcons, who want to play, the type of game where we're going to control the ball with our running game. We're going to put you in trouble in that regard. The Bengals ran 21 more snaps than the Falcons did. 21 more snaps and had the ball, for about 7 more minutes than the Falcons did.
You mentioned Hayden Hurst, 6 catches, 48 yards. That play there on the hard count was awesome. You have to feel great for the young man because the Falcons decided not to bring him back. And he had a chance to go out there and show that, hey, you guys made a mistake. I can play in this game.
Yeah, and they decided they had Hayden Hurst on the roster. He went from the Ravens. The Ravens drafted him in the first round out of South Carolina for a reason. He ended up going to the Falcons, and then the Falcons said, all right, we're going to draft Pitts, with a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And what did Pitts do today? He was targeted 5 times. He had 3 catches for a grand total of 9 yards, 3 yards per. His longest catch was 7 yards. Hayden Hurst, in a much different dynamic there. He was targeted 8 times, 6 catches, 48 yards. And he's becoming a fan favorite, the way he finishes every play. His run after catch, his yards after catch, he is bound and determined to get every possible square inch he can get out of it. And the fans really respond to it. So, yeah, it's starting to evolve to what we thought it was going to look like. Joe Burrow is now 100% healthy. There's no doubt about that. And now he's back to seeing the football field and in a rhythm and timing with his talented skill players that we hoped was going to happen. And missing all of training camp and coming off an appendectomy, that's not an easy deal. LC, dealing with the back issue, they just took them a bit to find that rhythm and timing. Now they're starting to find that rhythm and timing as an offensive line group, and the skill players are as well. And it's scary how good they could be. It really is.
And the H&H boys, Hubbard and Hendrickson, each come up with a sack today. But any update at all on Trey Hendrickson as he left the game late after the one play where he kind of hit his head?
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, they called it a neck injury. To me, Dave, had those kind of things before. The stinger, I think that's what happened. I think he, stretched his neck a little bit, and you get those stingers. It's a pinched nerve, and it goes right down your arm, and your whole arm goes numb. And, then all of a sudden you get pins and needles, start to get the feeling back. And, it might take a little bit. I hope that it's nothing more than that. I'm just surmising and hoping, I guess, because there's no medical declaration other than the fact that he suffered a neck injury. But the way he was walking off the field and twisting and turning his head and working his way into the locker room, to me it looked like it might have been one of those pinched nerves. And at that point, at that stage of the game, why the hell put him back out there? They had a very comfortable lead and finished it off without him having to risk any more injury.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And Dave, Joseph Asai, a young man, we got all excited a year ago on that first preseason game against Tampa Bay. I mean, today he got his first chance to really get in there and make some plays when Trey Hendrickson went out.
Yeah, and he's another guy that's a rangy athlete, good guy, good. He's got length and strength. He's a heck of a football player. He played University of Texas on scholarship. There's a reason, that says a lot. Let's put it this way: the Falcons threw the ball 13 times. The Bengals got 3 sacks. The Cincinnati Bengals, they threw the ball a few more times than 13 times. The Bengals threw it 42 times, and the Saints accumulated 3 sacks. So the sack per play ratio is off the charts to the negative for the Atlanta Falcons, giving up 3 sacks and 13 pass attempts, and it's respectable, more than respectable for the Bengals. There was only 1 sack where it was a scheme sack. They got a free runner, off the edge based on a schematic. They basically Dean Pease had a pretty good pressure package that brought one more than the Bengals could block based on their rules, and he dropped guys out. He's one of the masters of, I'm going to put 7 people to the line of scrimmage. I may only bring 5 or may only bring 4, but you don't know what 4 or what 5, and he got the Bengals on one of them. Other than that, it was pretty solid all day long in terms of recognition, communication of what they saw, guys getting hat on hat and blocking people up, because Dean Pease, he realized, man, Burrow's hot today. I'm going to have to bring a 5th. I can't just rush with 4. Offensive line's protecting him pretty well. He's picking us apart. I'm going to have to hurry his reads. And he'd bring a linebacker downhill with regularity. He'd bring a defensive back off the edge. But the Bengals did a good job, and Joe Burrow recognized when he was responsible for the unblocked guy, the free runner guy. He knew he had to get it out of his hand. That guy was going to get there. So everybody operated at a very, very high level of efficiency. There's no doubt.
A lot of concern on that inside of the Bengals defensive line. The loss of DJ Reader was huge. It's been a few weeks now, but today we got a chance to see rookie Zach Carter step up, 4 tackles, 1 assist, and then Jay, I hope I pronounce this properly, Tufele, 3 tackles.
Tufele, yeah, and he played well. He played well last week against the Saints. And, man, this kid, big Samoan kid that has a very, very strong lower body, a very big base, strong legs, very wide in the buttocks. I mean, he's hard to move off the line of scrimmage. When he anchors, man, he's got tremendous anchor ability. And his hero is Domata Peko, a guy that Bengal fans know all about. The other thing about him, though, is when he's two-gapping you and you got to come off the football, and you got to come off a little lower, a little harder. Once you start coming off the ball with your chin over your skis too far, over your feet, he's got that quick move. He showed that quick move where, he's got to swat and then swim over the top. And it's a good pass rush move he uses, but he uses it sometimes on a rundown to get penetration. And he did that and made a hit behind the line of scrimmage. He's a good player. He played very well. The rotation, I thought Tyler Shelvin gave him good snaps. They brought him up off the practice squad. The rotation worked for the Cincinnati Bengals on the defensive side of things. And as the old saying goes, if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot. But Tufele, Carter, Shelvin inside with B.J. Hill, Osai on the edge with Cam Sample and Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. That rotation held up. They were down Gunter. They were down Tupou. They've been down DJ Reader. I mean, it was a pretty good effort by everybody. And then Akeem Davis-Gago led the team in tackles. So he had to step up in the absence of Logan Wilson. And the way the Atlanta Falcons run the football, your linebacker, your middle linebacker is going to make plays. If the defensive line does a good job of keeping blockers off of them, which they did, you're going to make a lot of tackles. And Akeem Davis-Gaither ends up leading the team in tackles, probably like Logan Wilson would have, just the same, obviously. And, it's like coaches are going to tell you, look, we expect a high level of performance out of you. Are we going to miss our starter? Yeah. Our starter's a starter for a reason, but you made the NFL, young man. You're a good football player. We expect you to play at a high level. If you weren't a good player, we wouldn't keep you. And we expect you to be able to perform at a high level. And he did. He went in there and did his job. And that's when you're starting to develop players. The team's starting to develop and grow. When your players that don't normally get a bunch of snaps have to expand their role and get snaps and play at a high level, a consistent level. And that's what Lou Anarumo got out of his defensive players. other than that 75-yard touchdown pass and the one drive, 16-play drive, obviously, the Falcons executed well, but that 75-yard touchdown pass was a shocker. There's no question about that. But that defensive football team only gave up 17 points and, very skimpy, just a little over 200 yards. Pretty good day at the office.
Another welcome sight, another rookie, Taylor-Britt, on the field, taking a lot of snaps today.
Yeah, very, very much so. And he's back from surgery, and abdominal surgery that he had to have taken care of. And he's a guy that plays at a very high level with football intelligence, very competitive, good special teams player as well. He's going to continue to increase his role in terms of number of snaps. I mean, they drafted a couple of defensive backs pretty high in the draft, and they expect a lot out of them. Dax Hill and this young man, and he's stepping up. Dax Hill is going to be a good football player for this team for a very long time. Again, you're talking about roster depth. You're talking about, not just starting players, quote, starting players as such. You're talking about, people that you can lean on. I mean, the Bengals back up across the board in their secondary. Mike Thomas and Dax Hill as the backup safeties. Well, I trust both of them in the football game. Trey Flowers, Taylor-Britt, the backup corners. Yeah, I'm good with that. Jalen Davis backs up Mike Hilton. Yeah, that's pretty good depth there too. I mean, that's the thing. It's not just the starting players. It's other guys. And if you prove to the coaches that when you get an opportunity to play, that you can handle it, you're going to expand your role even if there's not an injury. They're going to go on a rotation and keep guys fresh. If I can pull, one of these guys out and keep them fresh, and we have, real fresh horses for the fourth quarter, that's good for everybody. But the guy that goes in for him, when you're trying to get that rotation going, he has to hold up and be able to play. And these young players are starting to show that.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And Dave, we got to talk about it. The Bengals will now go back into AFC North play. The Cleveland Browns, prime time, Monday Night Football. They get a little extra day to get prepared for the Browns, who gave the Ravens everything this afternoon, but fell short. Big game for the Bengals in this one.
Huge game. The Bengals are 4-3, and they're tied for the best record in the division. But Baltimore beat them, and Pittsburgh beat them. They're 0-2 in the division. Got to get a division win, and the opportunity to get that division win is in Cleveland on Monday night. And we talked about this, that, every point during the season, at some point in time, I should say, during the season, when a team ends up being a playoff team for the Bengals, they go on a run. Back in 1981, our run was in November. 5 games in the month of November, we won them all, November to November. The Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 23 team in 88, they started off 6-0. They had their run in September and into October. And it gave them margin for error. They ended up going 6-4 the rest of the year, and with a 12-4 record, the number one seed, getting off to that great start, having the run in the beginning. Last year's team was at the end of the year, and then through the playoffs. The 3 playoff games, they caught fire at the right time. They were 7-6 halfway through November, caught fire at the right time. So will this be the time where they catch fire? They got 2 wins under their belt, and they go to Cleveland, and then they got Carolina. If they can go on a 4-game run going into the bye week, and then come back and take care of business at Pittsburgh, and make it 5 in a row and win a couple of division games in the process, and even that division record at 2-2, while you're looking at a 6-3 record before the bye, you'd be 7-3 if you beat Pittsburgh after the bye and be even Steven in the division. Now you're talking like you're really back in the game. So this was a pivotal game. Atlanta was playing pretty good football, coming off a big win to the 49ers, 28-14, although the 49ers were beaten up. I think they were down 6 or 7 defensive starters in that football game. But, you got to play who's available. It's the National Football League. And now the Bengals, Joe Burrow mentioned it during the course of the week, said, I think this little stretch right here before the bye week will be a big indicator on how our season is going to go. And I couldn't agree with him more.
If you like what you hear on In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you've not done so, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you're listening for the audio, you can find it on wherever you get your podcast from. Dave, your final thoughts before we let you go and get some R&R with the family.
Yeah. Yeah, check out the family. That's always a good thing. It's good that the Bengals and Falcons both had won 3 out of their last 4 football games. They were both starting to play pretty good football. So who was going to come out and play the best football? I think the Cincinnati Bengals showed that they were the better football team. I mean, other than 35 seconds in the second quarter, Bengals won the game 35-7. And that you look at the statistics, I mean, that's pretty much how the game could have ended up. 537 yards offense to 214. You kidding me? 29 first downs to 13. 22 first downs passing to 5. I mean, it was just one of those days. And I do think the Bengals to put together back-to-back games where they score 30 or more points, that's what this offense is capable of. And the magic number is 25, Dave, and it's been that way since 2011. The Bengals scored 25 points or more. They're now 62 wins, 6 losses, and 2 ties. So that's the magic number. When they were up 28-7, I almost threw it out there, but I thought, it's too early in the game. And then when they scored their other touchdown to put 35 on the board, I threw it out there. 25 points or more, 62 wins, 6 losses, 2 ties since 2011. So it's not a small sample size, and that's the nature of the beast in the National Football League, no doubt about it. And I think this, if the Bengals continue to play complementary football, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with DJ Reader. You know, I've heard rumors that DJ Reader, might be available for the Cleveland game because it's Monday Night Football, a couple extra days in there. I talked to him last week. He said he's doing a pretty good job with forward mobility, straight line mobility, but side to side, he hasn't really tried to do too much yet. My philosophy on it, my feeling on it, I wouldn't rush it. I think long term rather than short term to get him back for a Monday night game. Although, if he can go, great. But if it's dicey, take the time, and get past the Cleveland game. Hopefully, get a win out of it. Carolina, get the bye, get those extra 3 weeks, and then he comes back for the final 8-game stretch of the season. Raring to go. I mean, now you got another, tiger in your tank as such at that nose tackle position. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. But yeah, it looks like the Bengals came out of today's game without any real significant injury. It was scary to see Jamar Chase hobbled around a little bit. He had a hip injury that cost him some practice time. He was on a limited basis during the course of the week, and he aggravated it a little bit during the course of the game, but he hung in there and hung through it. And LC had a foot or ankle injury that he probably got taped up like a cast, and he ended up coming back into the football game. So I think that they got through this one okay. And, man, if they can just get to that bye week, 6-3, and heal up, and then, go to Pittsburgh, to start that stretch after the bye. That's another nationally televised game, Sunday Night Football at this stage, unless it gets flexed. If Pittsburgh continues to have the upset wins that they've gotten over the Bengals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it probably won't be flexed, but we'll see. But Tampa Bay's struggling. There's no doubt about that. Tom Brady shouldn't have gone to that wedding. Shouldn't have gone to Kraft's wedding. There's no two ways about that. But we'll see. Dave, they put themselves back in the hunt with a 4-3 record. They're over 500 for the first time this season. They start out 0-2, and it's tough to get over that 500 mark when you lose your first 2. But they finally got there in Game 7, and hopefully they can build on it and finish the season strong.
He is Dave Lapham. You have been in the trenches, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Be sure, again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you've not already done so. And as always, Dave, we can't thank the people at First Star Logistics for everything they do for us. And if you're looking for a new career, be sure to check out firststarlogistics.com. They are hiring, and it's a fun place to be. Trust me. Dave and I are there every week, Dave. It's a great place to hang around.
It is. There's no question about it. I mean, everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction, and there's a lot of highly motivated people that are involved in your success. But it's all on you. I mean, if you're a hard worker, you have a good work ethic, you can do well. You can do exceedingly well, and you control your own destiny. But there's a big team behind you to help you advance your career every step of the way. So it's about as good a dynamic as you can be part of. So think about it. Give it strong consideration.
All right, Dave, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy some of this beautiful weather we're having here in the later part of October, because we know sooner enough we're going to be hit with some weather on a Sunday we may not like.
No doubt about it. It's coming. Mother Nature's saying, we're going to challenge you. But today, man, was it nice. It was special out there.
For Dave Lapham, this is Dave Burke. Again, In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. Check it out. Every week we have multiple pieces of content that get released throughout the week, and you will not be disappointed, because this past week, oh my gosh, we had some great interviews. So, Dave, enjoy Sunday. It's been a great day. The Bengals win 35-17. Hoo-day.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Brakes? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right. You know,
gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out FirstStarLogistics.com.